my issue with direct application of the philosopher king to the African context.
You relax
I'm just saying, like, I'm not entering. I'm just trying to say that's one of my issues because one, as a cultural society, we are quite very different, and our roots tied deep into the concept of Ubuntu, very deep. Like we are deeply ingrained in it, and the issue is that we will not admit it, but every African is nepotistic. Like nepotism is deeply rooted in, and it's not bad. It's just
that's the problem. The problem is we don't see it to be bad.
Yeah.
But a certain concept has been developed to make it seem
so we need to
bad.
now bring a balance to give us that balance to understand that it is fine to take care of your family, but it should be in relation to the larger society.
Yeah, and don't deprive the larger society just because you want to benefit.
That's
like we actually need African philosophers, like the Kwame Gyekye's, the Redos,
So that's the foundational base of that whole conversation for me, because I feel if we jump straight to the fact that we say they were corrupt people, I mean, Ali Bongo or the Bongos are taking care of themselves. That is why he's finished and his son is now the president. He did his how many years and finished, and his son was president for 4. And likewise in other African societies where we get people that are hoarding power. This is the concept, because if I'm there, I'm benefiting people. I'm benefiting my community.
Society.
But the unrest is coming from the other end. The people who are what we call the out group. They are not in the in group. They are the out group. They are those that are now agitating for it, because they are no more benefiting. And these people are skewed because they've been schooled like that. Like, this is it. That is it. So if we would talk about the dynamics of leadership in Africa, I think this is one of the foundational things we need to attack and talk to. For me,
that's true. You have spoken long, but it was very interesting and insightful. Jennifer, what do you think about leadership in Africa?
Leadership in Africa. Well, starting with development, from what you were saying, right? I feel like they changed the development concept into just economic. So it's very like true. Everything. When you see a developing country, underdeveloped countries, it's more of economic centered. So you don't see the other part of the society. What makes up a society is actually developing as well. So everything is about economic inflation, deflation, oil, gold, cocoa, everything.
It's always about the money.
Always about the money. And that is also another aspect of how other people are also agitating for a change, social change.
That's very true, because when development is not holistic and we only want to see development as economical, then what happens is that we neglect the other areas of development that we are having, and we intend things to think that, we are suffering, right? And for me, I think that was one of the reasons why I voted the current president. Like, he has disappointed me big time. But I'm not sad, or I'm not like sad when I say I voted him. I voted him because of the policies he brought in. The policies sounded like these were holistic developments that he wanted to, but factors have all come in play and all of that, and I don't think he has been able to live up to the expectations, right? So, how about you? What do you think?
I also think that we are doing this whole democracy thing wrong. Because when you look at the foundation of democracy, as in coming from the ancient Athenian society, you look at the systems they put in place and you realize that they did democracy because it encompasses a lot of things, and then the whole society is sorted in their democracy. There was accountability, there was representation. But then it comes to the contemporary notion of democracy, and then you realize that, okay, because all of us cannot be...
Even before you consider contemporary democracy is governments of the people, by the people, for the people.
But like the Athenian society made sure that democracy had everyone, even though the issue
they really represented by the people, for the people.
Even though it was there was gender inequality where the women were not coming. That's a whole different story for another day. Looking at their democracy, they made sure that they sat down, they looked at their society, and they looked at what would work for them. But as in contemporary society, the contemporary world, Ghana and every other nation to be precise, we've adopted democracy as a system of government because we think that that is the best way to go. We've ignored all of them because we feel like, oh, those won't work for us, but a democracy will work for us. But we are not doing this democracy thing right, because we are not looking at our community and looking at how to improve our community through democracy. We are just using democracy as the universal concept to do this leadership thing, and it is not working for us. So it's high time maybe the countries or the world as a whole look into this democracy thing and then correct the structures that we have, because we don't have accountability. We don't have full representation. The MPs that we have elected into parliament, how many of them have gone to their constituencies to see what is happening there? Some of them have not even lived there before. Some of them have not been there before. It's only election time that they go there. So how is representation, how are you representing me when you don't even know what I go through every day?
That's true.
So we should look at our democracy and probably work on the structure so that we get what we want to get from democracy. Otherwise, maybe we should try another leadership style.
I really think I agree with the last statement that we should try another leadership style, because
I don't think so.
I'm coming. The Athenian society, they tried a lot of things.
Yeah.
So they arrived at the best model fit for their society. So this is it. It was a try and error game. We begin from tyranny. We begin from monarchy. We sort of try everything. You get to a society like Sparta and you see that they even incorporate all the systems. There is tyranny, there is monarchy, there is democracy, everything. What they were looking for as a society was, what is the right model that will help develop our society holistically? It should be the language of Ghana. I've said this thing that socially, as a social people, we are very tied down to community. And we are building a system that is detached from community. Who is going to owe allegiance to Akufo-Addo? Are you getting my point? If Otumfuo is to step down right now and speak to any misbehaving Asante, you will see the reverence the person will give to Otumfuo as compared to the president.
That's true.
And imagine if Otumfuo is the head of their Akan Confederacy as one of the structures of our governance, and he's empowered to actually function and work. We will clamp down on a lot of the things that we are struggling now. This is a free idea. Imagine. So we can think outside the box of democracy, not entering another form of governance that would disturb us. But we can model a form of governance that can incorporate everything and still detach us from some of our weaknesses as a society. So if we are thinking just around democracy alone, I feel it's problematic, because we are seeing that democracy in Africa is not working.
It's not working.
That's true.
It's not working for a lot of reasons. It's not working.
And
it's truly not working.
Reasons even to say.
It's not working. Because we are wired and quite differently from we are totally different people, like within thinking, with our culture, everything. And if we are modeling a democracy that is based on a democracy that a white man preferred to us, and a white man is defending with his blood and sword. I mean, do you get the point? So that's one of our issues. We should start thinking out of the box. I read a write-up from a man I've forgotten some time back on his ideal form of governance. And I looked at it and said, this is a very nice model we can do. Incorporation of all those forms of governance that serves as checks and balances for each other. Just like in the Athenian society. I mean, everybody speaks about democracy and just goes directly to the Athenians and say it helped them. But they forget that they began from somewhere in leadership. They worked until they found the most idealist form of leadership. And even when they found it, they kept amending it. Anytime. We have a democracy that has no
was doing. He was amending it to see himself.
Which one? This democracy that's amended every 20, 30 years.
Ali Bongo. That's what he did. He kept amending it to see himself.
But that's not the point.
I get it. I understand your point too, but that's just me thinking,
you see, for me,
out loud.
I really do get the point, and I think sometimes it is in the trial and error. Who is going to see to that? Who is going to offer himself as a sacrificial lamb? Okay, let's use my tenure of office to test and see other forms of government. And what is going to be the public appraisal of all these things that we are talking about?
So just like when we were transiting from a tyrannical state into democratic state, if you remember, 1992 when our constitution was built, it was a collective issue
System. Yeah.
where people sat down. There was a stakeholder meeting where people sat down. There was a stakeholder meeting to sit
Yeah, so
down.
let's begin this.
That is the issue.
Like, I think that is why institutions exist. That is why
I mean,
philosophy even exists.
yeah.
This is the reason why philosophy exists, to be able to find conceptual
Well, it's because
analysis.
people go and sit on those conference tables and take tea money, so they will not
Yeah,
want to involve.
sometimes so that's also a very big problem.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it still goes down to the issue of thinking of my community and
Yeah.
my
and
small
myself
circle,
first
Me
before the larger
The whole
community,
larger community,
right?
true.
And I think that is very, very problematic. Well, honestly,
And what is even more problematic is that the youths now are even thinking more than the old people. That's scary.
Yeah.
so
it's very
let
scary
me
for
ask
you.
let me ask you the next question.
Extremely
Let me ask
scary.
then let me just
Scary.
ask you the next
And it's
question.
worse. The canker in the youth is terrible. Like that is extreme.
Oh.
Like, oh yeah.
What do you think about youth leadership?
Youth is terrible. Like the most worst form of leadership I've seen
Like
as a youth is youth leadership. I mean, I've been in student